last night GameStop released their third quarterly report, and I don't really want to say I told you so, but I kind of did. Now, this quarter was going to be hard anyway, because we know that obviously the PlayStation and the Xbox were all coming out. They came out in November, and this quarter ended at the end of October. So obviously we've got a huge kind of decline in sales based on the fact that people are going to be holding off to buy the next new console, or even to buy the last console after the new one comes out because they'll get it cheaper. So this was going to be a hard quarter anyway. But, I mean, wow. Now, they've told us how their e-com sales are up 257%, which actually makes about 25% of their annual income this year, from what I can tell. And while that is great, and while that is what we should expect, again, like I've said before, it's a little bit too late. Too little, too late. They're stepping into the e-com world, and they're kind of growing their e-com platform from pretty much nothing. And I, as a way of comparing this year compared to the last console release, so when PlayStation 4 and Xbox 4 were released back in, I think it was 2014, or I think it was December 2013, the quarter there, they had a reasonable boost in sales, but they mention in their annual report about how their mobile and internet side of the business is growing. So they had it all the way back then, and yet still they've just put no effort into growing it. And like I said, I appreciate that they're into it now, they're pushing it now, but I just don't think there's going to be enough market share for them, and it's too hard a space to get into based on the fact that they've not really established themselves properly there. So I think that's going to be a real struggle for them going forward. But hey, maybe they will. And I think pretty much everyone that seems to be talking about GameStop and investing in GameStop are talking about how the business is going in that direction. So maybe that will help to push the business forward. I don't know. I don't see it, to be honest. And despite COVID and everything like that, obviously they've had the online sales. Their sales have still dropped by 30% compared to last year. Which again, obviously, yeah, we appreciate the new consoles coming out. It's going to cause a bit of decline. But that much of a decline? That much with an issue with COVID? Like, they've not been closed for that much of the year in comparison. So, in fact, like I say, they've said about their store closures, and yet a lot of their American stores were told that they had to stay open and that they were, vital businesses for some reason. And another positive note on their quarterly report is them talking about their cash balance, the amount of money that they've got on hand. Now, it seems to be that they constantly have a lot of money on hand, which it blatantly seems to need for the business, because of the fact that they've now gone and they've sold all of their head office to rent it back. Now, imagine if you were personally in debt, you got a huge pile of cash, but what you do is you go to the bank and you go, here you go, will you buy my house and I'll rent it back off of you? Like, why would you do that if you weren't desperate for cash? And that is clearly what this business is doing. They're so desperate for that cash that they are selling the family silver. And that really isn't a good sign, is it? Now, they've tried to kind of put a bit of a positive spin onto this by talking about November sales, because obviously they've had November over with, so they know what they've done, and November being the important quarter because of the fact that we've got the new console releases. So we're expecting some really great results from November. I mean, some people are. I'm not, clearly, but so they've kind of said about how November sales are up massively, and what they've said is 16.5% comparable store sales. Okay, so that's how they've kind of phrased it. But then they've given the actual numbers. $791 million in November compared to last year's $747.6 million. So we're talking about $44 million, which, okay, really want to say much negative about that, except from the fact that they've got 5,000 stores. So you're talking about less than an average of $10,000 extra per store that they've made extra. And bearing in mind, you had people camping or sleeping outside these stores this month, or last month, in the month we're talking about, in November. Now, again, averaging this out, so it won't be 10,000 per store, but if you kind of average through that, you're talking about a store having roughly $100,000 in revenue throughout the month, but then being able to, or through the last year, but then able to produce an extra 10,000 from this kind of November. And that's really, really concerning to me, because if you've got people sleeping outside your shop, how have you only made an extra $10,000 in sales? It might sound a lot to you, but it really isn't. And that's a really, really big warning flag for me. And what's more is, like I've said numerous times, these consoles that they're selling, the ones that don't have disc drives on them, means that these customers are not really going to be coming back to GameStop. Yeah, okay, maybe you'll go and buy your controller from GameStop, but that's it. So we're talking about customers that would have been coming in, like, on a monthly basis, maybe, or, every little while, that now will be coming back, like, once or twice in the console lifespan. How is that good? And then, to top it all off, remember what I was saying about the fact that they're clearly in desperate need for extra cash. So, right at the end of their quarterly report, they've also added in, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to sell a load more shares. So, they're basically saying, yep, we've sold all the family silver, and we've still not got enough money, so, we're going to raise some more money. So if you're a shareholder in GameStop, I mean, first of all, I don't know what you're smoking to still be a shareholder in GameStop, but you really need to cut that stuff out. Second of all, get out now. All right, and obviously this is my opinion. This is not investment advice, but I think you are absolutely nuts if you are still invested in this company. Now, obviously, I had my short position that I opened. Joys of eToro, obviously, well, it's not just eToro, it's government regulations, but when it hits 50% stop loss, obviously it automatically cancels out, which obviously our short position had the joy of hitting that just at that peak. I think it was last week. So I reopened the short on the way back down again to kind of make the money back, and then I realised because of that random volatility, it caused the risk score to go back up again, so I had to get rid of it. Unfortunately, it's just the way we have to play this game. So we're kind of missing out on this huge drop that we're getting from GameStop right now. But at the same time, it's also nice to watch it to kind of see what we've predicted, what I've predicted, and what many of you guys seem to agree with me on. So there's that. So yeah, what do you think? Are you a GameStop bull? Are you still convinced that this stock is going somewhere? I mean, people that I've spoken to, I did actually speak to some people that were convinced that going up to Christmas that this share price was going to climb, and obviously they were completely right. And I really hope that they did get out in time, because I really don't think it's going to be going any higher anytime soon now. Now, this is not a recommendation to short the company, because at the end of the day, we don't know what's going to happen. Mr. Cohen, who has decided that he can rejuvenate this business, is having a lot of issues with the board. They don't seem to want to comply with him. So where that's going to go, nobody knows. Maybe he can turn it around, but I just don't see him having that kind of option, really. I think even if he does manage to convince the board, I think this business is a little bit too late. And actually, he would probably be better off almost buying the rights to the company's name or something, I don't even know, or waiting for it to go kind of almost bust, and then using the rights to kind of almost restart the whole company, because that's kind of what this needs, is very much like a complete restart. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Remember, nothing that I've said here is financial advice. This is just for me and my opinion. Do your own research and do not make any transactions based off of any of my videos, this or any other one, okay? Make your own decisions. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.